I wanted to offer a couple of quick points about Martin Luther King Jr. as an educator, and they focus on areas of history, ethos, mythology, and motive. Historically, King was being prepared to be an educator and to take over the presidency of Morehouse College, and we saw this with his undergraduate training in sociology at Morehouse, and then he went on to Crozer Theological Seminary and took a post-baccalaureate degree in theology, and then he went on to earn his doctorate in systematic theology at Boston University. As we look at place, space, and time, these kind of issues and events take a different circumstance in our life, whereas King had no idea that he was going to be the mediator or the person who would come between the old line guard and the new line guard in Montgomery, Alabama, and that he would therefore become the chair of the Montgomery Improvement Association. Ethos, when we talk about ethos and we talk about the ethical and practical behavior of an individual, we look at Martin Luther King as an example, but also as a human. And as such, he spent tireless moments reading, writing, debating, and trying to come up with alternative plans and schemes to look at trying to provide civility and social justice in our society. Unfortunately, sometimes we look at Martin Luther King as an icon, and he is not an icon. He is a human. He is an individual who shares many of the same experiences as most Americans, with emphasis particularly on African Americans. And so as such, he grew up in a segregated America. He grew up in the segregated South, and he had concerns around equity and the disparity that existed regarding the distribution of resources, the distribution of wealth, and the distribution of education among African Americans, and more importantly, all Americans. And then when we look at the myths behind Martin Luther King, we look at him as an individual who existed by himself and not as one who was a part of a community or a communitarian philosophy. And so when we look at Martin Luther King as a member of a global society, we understand that he wanted to just try and advance, issues of social justice, civility, and cause to advance a greater society for all Americans.